Welcome to Mercy Volunteer Corps' live frequently asked questions. Tonight, we are showcasing one of our short-term summer placements. We have Grace and Kaitlyn with us tonight, who are going to share about their 6-week experience with Mercy volunteers at Mercy Ecospirituality Center in Vermont. If you have any questions throughout, feel free to leave them in the chat. They're happy to answer them for you live tonight. So Grace and Kaitlyn, thanks so much for being here tonight to share your experience. If you could start with introducing yourselves, tell us where you're from, when you served, and what you're up to now. Grace, if you want to start us off.
Yeah, so my name's Grace Rooks. I'm originally from Omaha, Nebraska, and I went to the College of St. Mary in Nebraska for my undergrad degree. I graduated in May, and after May, then I joined the volunteer corps at the Eco Spirituality Center. And then after I graduated, I did a gap year before graduate school, and I'm serving in AmeriCorps in Newport, Vermont, for the year as a farm to school coordinator, working in elementary schools up here. And next year, I'm going to graduate school for school counseling and clinical mental health counseling.
Hi everyone, my name is Kaitlyn, and I had the pleasure of being with Grace in Vermont. I was also a new grad, but in my case, it was a dual undergrad graduate degree program. So I just graduated and I decided that it was the perfect time to go to Vermont and just engage in the wonderful opportunity. And now I moved to Texas. So I'm originally from Connecticut, went to school in Pennsylvania at Misericordia, a Mercy school. Now I'm in Texas, and I'm an occupational therapist, and I work with kiddos. Yeah.
I love it. Thanks so much. So as you're going to kind of go back in time, as you were thinking about this opportunity to serve for the summer, what about Mercy Eco Spirituality Center or Mercy Volunteer Corps kind of drew you in, and what led you to apply?
So I love farms. I actually learned this at Misericordia. There were a few programs where I got to volunteer on the weekend and learn about animals and plants and how that all interacts and what that means to humans and just the wider world. And then I was also learning a lot about our food system, and I was changing my diet, and I was just curious how this all intersected. And for Vermont, I just saw the little blurb on it, and I said, "This is me," and that was that. I applied, and even talking with my friends, they were like, "This is you written all over it." So it was perfect. And then after that, I actually spent summer before starting my career working on farms in my hometown. So it just kind of continued too.
For me, when I was a sustainability minor in college, so helping the earth was like something that was really, really important to me. And the summer before I graduated, so the summer of 2022, I had the opportunity to go to the Sisters of Mercy DC advocacy program for sustainability. And while I was there, some people from Mercy Volunteer Corps came to talk to us about the Eco Spirituality Center. And it was too late to apply then. And I already had plans for that summer working at a camp, but I fell in love with what they were saying. And so then I knew that next summer that was what I wanted to do. And so then I applied at the priority deadline and I got in and it was perfect. So.
I love that you both mentioned like it was just like this deep sense of knowing it was for you. I felt that too before my volunteer experience, like just a deep connection with the mission and what you want to be doing. So we love that. Can you walk us through like what did a day in the life look like as a Mercy volunteer in Vermont? What did you do? Did you work on any special projects? Tell us.
Every day was a little different, but it was all really exciting. So we usually got up pretty early because we wanted to beat the sun on the really, really hot days. So we would get up and then we would all usually eat breakfast together. And we would sit around the table and just chit chat, which was always really fun. And then we would usually, I would say, start our days with working in the gardens, pulling weeds, seeing if any produce was ready to harvest, maintaining the garden. So like weeding, like I said, sometimes mowing or like fixing a fence. And then usually our afternoon, we would go in, eat lunch together, and then come back outside. And then our afternoons were usually spent with doing like special projects. So one thing did was we fixed the bunny fence that was all around the garden. And then another thing me and Kaitlyn took on was the giant sign that is above the garden now. So it took us like a few weeks to paint and work on that. So we usually did that in the afternoon in the barn where it was nice and cool. And then I forgot to mention, we in the mornings and nights we did animal chores too. So we had the opportunity to feed the chickens and the sheep and then clean up after them. And we usually rotated. So it was either me and Kaitlyn in the morning and then Chris and Cindy at night. And so we didn't do both. So we just did one or the other. So we had a good system down. And then usually at night we would all gather. And we always took turns preparing the meals. So, and then we would prepare the meal for everybody and then all eat together and just talk about our days.
Yeah, I think Grace covered most of it, but it was just, I just want to talk about the feeling. It was really wonderful. So we were able to wake up and you were just kind of surrounded by nature. And then you knew, like, okay, I'm going to go say hi to these really sweet animals that are so excited to see us, the sheep in particular. Uh, and then, so they greeted you at the beginning of your day. And then we were interacting with each other, which was great because we were in the house together. But then we also had April and Liz, who are staff members there, and they would sort of meet with us and give us a little layout of what they were hoping we could help them with. And then we were all just so invested that we were like, okay, let's go put on our rain boots and get out there. And then one day a week we did go to like a much bigger organic farm, and we got to see how the process of growing all kinds of produce works on such a large scale with actual machinery. Whereas at our little garden, it was all by hand and just for us and for the local food pantry. So much smaller scale, but we did have that experience with something bigger as well.
Yeah, thanks for that. I'm wondering if either of you want to jump in and add a little bit about the community experience you mentioned, Chris and Cindy. Can you tell us more about like what it meant to live in community and what that looked like?
I can go first, and then Kaitlyn, you want to add anything? Is that okay? Okay. Living in community, I think, was the best part of the whole experience for me personally. Getting to know Kaitlyn and then our other volunteers, Chris and Cindy, were a married older couple. Getting to know all of them, it felt like we were just like a little family for 6 weeks. They like we knew everything about each other over the course of those 6 weeks. And we still keep in touch. And so it was an amazing experience where I really feel like we grew a lot of bonds. We also really connected during our spirituality nights that we had. So once a week we had our spirituality night, and usually we invited April to come with us. And we did a variety of different things during our spirituality nights, but we really just dove deeper into our spirituality together, which I also think really helped form our bonds. And then we also, since we got so close, we did like 20 minutes of centering prayer a lot. I would say like maybe 3, 4 times a week, not every day, but we did that centering prayer together, which also I feel like really just like helped our sense of community. And yeah, it was just a really amazing experience.
I would totally agree that the community aspect of MEC was just absolutely incredible. Even just like, even though we're virtual, being Grace's presence again, it just makes me feel like this warmth. That reminds me of what we all shared. It's just like wholesome, like we're out living together, just cooking meals and ignoring the world of productivity and all those things. It was really about just being grounded together with the earth, with the animals. It was really an escape of sorts, but also a place where I think we all grew so much and we had these really important conversations. Speaking for myself and from what I know about Grace, we were kind of at a pivotal time in our lives post-graduation. Like, oh my goodness, we're adults now. What do we do? And then Chris and Cindy, just fabulous people that guided us through a lot, I would say. and just so willing to share their stories and how they live their lives and what they recommend to us. And then all of that tied into spirituality and our work, and truly just incredible.
Such a beautiful experience of getting to be present to one another and present to the environment and the animals that you were surrounded by too in that community experience. What were some of the ways that you were challenged and grew from the experience, or like the gifts and lessons that you took from Mercy Ecospirituality Center?
I'll start on that one. I think that I learned so much about just people, and it's a good reminder. We go through most daily life and we're just like, get the things done, check, 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 move along, say hi, bye. But what really was different is we were living in such close community, kind of remind me of college in a way. But aside from that, we were so close to these people that it required really good communication. It's always something awesome to strengthen, and I think we certainly did that. And just a lot of collaboration. Like, how are we going to take these resources that we have access to and make the absolute most of them? And whose ideas should we bring in? Who should we consult? Because it's just such a collective experience that it's a good reminder of like how humans are meant to be social with each other, and just the power of supporting one another, the greater the outcome that can be.
I agree with Kaitlyn. I would say I feel like one of the challenges for me was, and I think all of us, was there was 5 of us living in a pretty small apartment for 6 weeks. So I think just like getting used to that environment of like I hadn't shared a dorm room with someone in a long time. So like getting used to that, those really close quarters and being with people constantly for 6 weeks. Like some people really value their alone time. And I'm not saying there wasn't any alone time, but you were usually with people during the 6 weeks. So that could be a challenge for some people. Another challenge, I guess, is we had like a budget for our food and everything. So we always had to like, we really were budgeting. So that was not really a challenge, but I was an RA my last 2 years of college, so I never really had to worry about stuff like that, like buying my own food. Like it was just provided for me because through being an RA. And so learning how to do that was a challenge for me personally.
Thanks for sharing those challenges. What are some of the things that like touched you deeply, or gifts that you carry with you from the experience into this new stage of life?
Um, I'll go first for this one. Something I took a lot away from this experience, like so much. Like if anyone's debating applying, 100% go for it because um, one of the main things I took away from this experience was slowing down. I think for a lot of my undergrad experience, I was like always rushing to my next step and like, what do I need to do? Everything was like always moving so fast around me. And then these 6 weeks, it felt like time like almost like stood still while we were there because we didn't really have much internet or service or anything like that. Like we were just with each other and we were with the earth and we were with the animals and we were learning and growing from each other. And I think I learned honestly so much from Kaitlyn and Chris and Cindy about being a better human. Like I'm no one's perfect. But like I think I grew so much as a person just being in their presence. They were just such like lights of people that I met. And I will never forget that. And I learned just so much from them that I will always take with me. And every time I have a call with them, like it brings my heart just so much joy, just being around such positive people.
I completely second that, and just like literally right now I'm feeling it again. Um, it's just such a reminder that we have these short lives and we need to try so actively to make them beautiful. And those 6 weeks were a really, really important time for me because I'd felt that before, but it was just a reminder of how much control I actually have in making my life so full, and the people I surround myself with and so on. And then just like the little memories here and there. Like Grace and I would go on some walks pretty late at night on these rolling hill dirt roads. There'd be water and stars and just things you don't find everywhere. Chris and Cindy are great adventurers, so they would make these elaborate plans on the weekends, and Grace and I would just be along for the ride. So we saw things, we hiked, we camped in hammocks one time. Things that I would never do on my own, but with other people who really cared for us and vice versa, is just so wholesome, basically. And even like the day to day, I love weeding. That's not something you do just every day, just cause usually. But hey, I love it. It was very contemplative. We were in the baking sun. We'd come up with cool contraptions for shade and whatnot. It was a very creative experience, even though the tasks were pretty similar day to day. And then some other people involved with Mercy Volunteer Corps and the center itself would come visit, and then we'd get to share these experiences and meals and take wisdom and just really, really connected experience.
You can see the joy in both of you when you talk about it, and that's so exciting to be able to hear and see. Thinking about all the folks who might be watching and considering this experience, what advice for them would you have, or like why should they do it? Why take the leap to be a Mercy volunteer this summer?
My first piece of advice is bring rain boots, gloves, and older clothes that you don't mind getting dirty and sweating in every single day. Long sleeves too. um, that's important. But anyway, I would say that yes, do it. Please do it for yourself, for whoever will be there with you. It's just magical. And of course, there's challenges with it too, but no matter what, you're going to take something important that will impact your life once you leave that experience. And just the energy of a center of like Sisters of Mercy and how their whole tradition is involved, like it's just, it's kind of set up to be a great experience for lack of other words. So it's a really like safe, trustworthy leap to take. And you are taken care of as well. You are very supported. Somebody's always making sure that you're having a good experience and you have everything you need. So it's really nice to care for the earth and other people and the animals, but it's also nice to be cared for in the way that Mercy Volunteer Corps does. So please do it. That's all.
I agree with everything Kaitlyn said 100%. And one thing I guess I just wanted to add from my personal journey, when I told people I was considering this, a lot of people sort of looked at me like I was a little crazy. They're like, you want to go somewhere for 6 weeks this summer and just not get paid? And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. And like, especially being from Nebraska, my parents were like, you're going to go to Vermont, you're going to get on a plane and just live there for 6 weeks, and they're not paying you, and you're just going to live with these strangers. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. And I'm so happy that I didn't listen to like outside voices, like not judging, but everyone was just a little confused about why I would want to do this. And like I said, I felt very called to it. I knew the instant like it was brought up, I was like, that is something I want to do. And I'm the type of person that when I get my sights set on something, it happens. And so I knew that I needed to end up there. And so my biggest piece of advice is really following your own heart and not really listening to like people and not worrying about, and it's so easy to say not worrying about money, but and not worrying about like wasting your time, because that's what some people are really concerned about. Like, you just graduated college, you're not going to go try to find a big girl job and like do all of this stuff. And I'm like, um, and this was exactly the experience I needed right when I graduated. Jobs will always be there. This was an experience that changed my life within the 6 weeks. And I think if anyone's considering doing it, taking 6 weeks off to do this and be cared for, like Kaitlyn said, is a wonderful opportunity that not everybody gets to have. So if you at all are considering it and have the means to do it, I 100% think you should go for it.
Yes, thank you so much both for sharing your experiences and the joy that you have from the experience. I really appreciate it. For those who are watching, thanks so much for joining us. If you're interested in serving this summer at Mercy Ecospirituality Center, we are currently accepting applications. We also have a summer opportunity at Arise Adelante in Texas. So 2 options that you can learn more about at mercyvolunteers.org, or feel free to send us an email at recruitment@mercyvolunteers.org. We'd be happy to connect you with these 2 lovely folks or anyone else to hear more about or talk more about the experience. Thanks so much and have a good night.